made the same exact cookie recipe twice, but with one key difference. That difference being every single ingredient I used. The ingredients are the same, technically, but I went to my grocery store and I bought all of the cheapest ingredients I could find. And then I went back through and I bought all of the most expensive ingredients that I could find. And then I used them to make my best chocolate chip cookie recipe. Of course, I have most of these ingredients in my pantry already, but I wanted to see what it would cost me to make a batch of cookies if I didn't have any of the ingredients, both the cheap and the expensive version. Inexpensive ingredients ended up costing me $26.49. The expensive version ended up costing $52.79. Not gonna lie, that hurt a little bit, especially since I have eggs at home that are probably costing me even more a dozen than these, but I digress. We made the same exact recipe, the same exact way, chilling it for the same amount of time, and the difference was pretty interesting and not exactly what we expected. One of the first differences we noticed in the expensive and inexpensive ingredients was the packaging. I know that's obvious and has nothing to do with the taste, but this was a fight to open this. Nikki opened it too. She really struggled there. If you know from my old video, I don't like to buy generic baking soda anyway, so this was a painful one to buy, even though it is so inexpensive. I went by unit price choosing everything to make sure that I was really comparing apples to apples. So I just want to make sure you can see everything here, the generic butter, just generic salt, generic, the least expensive vanilla, the bleached flour, also an ingredient I don't usually love to use. The expensive ingredients, there are probably more expensive ingredients you can buy. I just went based off of what was available in my grocery store. So the Ghirardelli chips were the most expensive. The Kerrygold butter, I expected this to make a difference because Kerrygold butter, European butter, has a higher fat percentage, and that means there's less water in it, and that can make a difference in your baking. Usually makes your baked goods richer in a really nice way. These eggs, I don't even know what's so special about these eggs. They were pasture raised, which sometimes means you're paying more for the quality of life the chicken lives, which I think is a great thing because I have chickens. We have like a fine sea salt, mostly brand name ingredients. The Watkins Pure Vanilla was the most expensive by far there. Let me make a little bit of space and we'll talk about the doughs. Both of these doughs have already chilled for 30 minutes because we already baked a tray of each of them. This is our inexpensive ingredient dough here compared to our more expensive dough here. Don't mind my awkward spoon. So things to notice. It's harder to tell, I imagine, for you looking behind the screen watching this. This dough is a lot softer and more liquid. Again, it's chilled, so it's a little bit more firm. But when we made it, it was a much, much softer dough. This dough is more firm. That's not super surprising because we used European butter, more fat, less water, so I kind of expected that a little bit. This one is more golden. This one's more pale, and again, I kind of contribute that to the butter and probably the better quality eggs. Also, if you try the dough, which I would never recommend because it's not safe to recommend such a thing, but if you were to try it, you would find that this dough's a lot grainier and this dough's a lot smoother. The grittiness factor, I am guessing, is because Domino makes a smoother brown sugar, whereas the generic one is not as smooth. If I had to guess, this one is probably sugar with molasses added, and it is, and I would bet this is just a less refined sugar. Let me just see real quick. This is brown cane sugar. This is sugar with molasses added. So that's your difference. I do love Domino. Also, my favorite surprised me. This one had a deeper flavor, which was not what I expected. How did these bake up? Well, I haven't tried them yet, but here is our tray of the less expensive ingredient cookies. And here is our tray of our more expensive ingredient cookies. Let's take a look. So these baked up a little bit thinner and flatter. Again, kind of expected because of the fat difference in the butter. They look pretty nice. These baked up more golden. They didn't spread quite as much, but they still had like an appropriate amount of spread. They weren't like stuck in mounds. Bottoms look nice. Baked on the same baking sheets, both on parchment paper, same oven, same time. So let's break into them and see if these $60 cookies were worth the splurge or if we should have just stuck with the less expensive ones. So they both break beautifully. They look perfectly moist inside. I'm gonna try a piece. Palate cleanser. Let's try the next one. I want to try to get an even amount of chocolate chips. That way I'm not just tasting the chocolate. I'm shocked. I'm actually really shocked. I have a clear favorite. This is not what I was expecting. I prefer the less expensive cookie. These look a little bit prettier, and if I were choosing just based off looks, I would have picked that one. This one has a better depth of flavor. It tastes slightly saltier. I'm wondering if it has anything to do with the natural flavors that are added to the unsalted butter, an ingredient I don't actually like in my baked goods, but now I'm wondering. I'm a big fan of Kerrygold and all of these ingredients here. And this was not what I was expecting. Even after tasting the dough, I still thought they would bake up different. I am going to ask everybody to try these, and we are going to just make a tally of which one people prefer. Even the kids, they're not gonna lie.
All right, let's see. That's actually pretty flavorful. It's like a biscuit. It tastes like a plain biscuit. Far superior. Far superior.
Wow. You pick that one?
This one.
I don't know.
That's it, okay.
Okay. This one is chewier. So
Okay.
I think I would go with this one.
All right, Nikki.
Are you going to mention that she blindfolded because she made them? She helped make them.
Yeah, she helped make them. I don't want her to know what she's trying. I don't want her to know.
This is how I work right now.
She's seen what we already did, so try. Can you see? Why are you looking down?
I already have a guess as to which one it is.
Number 2.
I can't really taste the flavor difference either. I would say the second one was chewier and the crunchy. I like the crunchy edges.
Yeah, which one do you like better?
Probably the second one.
The second one
But
was
not
the
based on
inexpensive
flavor.
one.
Note to the people that Andrea doesn't like flavor.
That's true. Which one's better?
This one.
Oh, that makes so much sense that you would pick that.
Garbage, actually.
All right, this was a very interesting experiment. It was kind of eye-opening to me. I wonder if it was to you as well. I hope so. But yeah, you don't need the best ingredients. You don't need to make $60 cookies to have the best cookies. Now, I do want to know, and I've mentioned this in my other videos, I don't use these ingredients all the time, and I don't use just these ingredients all the time. I kind of have a baseline where I use a mix of both. I pull from both of these to use the ingredients that I feel like give the most consistent results that can best be extrapolated to your own kitchen. I hope you enjoyed this latest video and my baking experiments. In my head, I've been calling them my Better Baking Experiment videos, Better Baking series. If there are any other experiments you'd like to see, let me know. And I'm going to add them to my list. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. It's so hard having to eat all this cookie dough all the time. My life is so difficult. And he's like, I hate flavor. Jesse in front of the camera instead of behind the camera.
Did you eat butter?
I just had to tell him.
You did not have to.
For science. Were you recording? Yeah. Actually, good. I'm glad you were recording.